Trump has it in mind that one of the easiest ways of doing that is absorbing our country. And it is a real thing. In my conversation with him,
the Prime Minister told people behind closed doors that Mr. Trump is sincere in his desire to annex Canada because he wants access to our critical minerals.
I think I would be reflecting the spirit in the room, and more importantly, the spirit across this country. Canada is free. Canada is sovereign. Canada will choose its own destiny. Thank you very much. But Canada is forever.
I just think from a general perspective, Americans would never want to invade or take over or absorb Canada. We see Canada as our closest ally, friend, and partner. And so I think if you asked any everyday American, they would never assume that it would be real. It's very promising that the Prime Minister and the President are connecting. I think, the President has been very clear that he is continuing to have the conversation around the annexation, which most Americans don't take seriously. I would say we don't believe, generally that that's actually something that's real or in a real agenda. Instead, I think our perception is more that it is one from a position of negotiation and posturing and using it as leverage in the conversation.
The reduction of red tape amongst provinces and territories is not focused on the infrastructure such as East-West pipeline. It is focused on reducing red tape so that infrastructure of any sort can get built, so that workers of any occupation can follow demand and work. And so we are not focused on the one particular infrastructure project. All options are on the table always, but our focus right now is on reducing red tape and eliminating barriers to trade.
I don't think we're going to get rid of everything in 30 days. What I do think is that there's a renewed commitment to letting go of maybe some of the historic rationales for some of them. And so there's a renewed urgency to the matter. And so I think as a result, we will likely be able to see some substantial and measurable reductions in those barriers, because it is time for us in Canada to be able to work east-west with each other rather than becoming as vulnerable as we have as a result of our default north-south orientation.
how do we make sure we are resilient as an economy? And for me, there's three areas we need to think about: Canada, the United States, and international. First of all, on Canada, it's about time we had genuine free trade within Canada that'll make us more efficient, more competitive, and give greater opportunities for Canadians, and not just individual Canadians, but businesses and suppliers to do business across Canada, east-west, and not just north-south. Secondly, trade with the U.S. Now, there's a lot of talk about diversification. We'll get to that as well. But let's face some facts here. We are Canada. Geography means we're always going to both benefit and be challenged by trade with the United States. It's always going to be a big chunk of our economy. Can we be thoughtful and deliberate about the kinds of partnerships that enhance and create true win-wins, but also give us a little more protection against political rhetoric in the United States? We have a free trade deal with Europe that has seen opportunities grow significantly over the past years, but can we do even more?
What I've learned from dealing with the President Trump's administration is we always have to take him seriously. And in that sense, I've been clear, we're the American people best friend, but we will never be a state, and we will never be a colony. It was because of Johnny MacDonald and Georges-Étienne Cartier, and it was, you know, it was for the reasons of threat from the Americans that we created our country. So we need to be at work. This is a pivotal moment, and we need all of us to stand together to make sure that we're addressing the different issues we have in our country, and that we, you know, ultimately get out of it stronger. It's really important. The only thing that will make sure that President Trump doesn't impose tariffs on Canada is if we can convince the American people themselves that imposing tariffs is actually a tax on them. And Trump said that he would not impose any form of new taxes on the American people. He actually said he would cut taxes. And so making sure that they understand that by putting a tax on us is a tax on them is actually the strategy. The best way to create growth again within our country is, to your very point at the beginning when you were introducing this conversation, is about getting rid of internal barriers, commercial barriers. It's really, really important. A lot of the thinking is still very north-south in terms of business. You know, it's easier sometimes to do business with south of the border than actually the prairies or, BC and even, my home province of Quebec. But we need to change that because it's about our own country, our own sovereignty, and ultimately our own jobs.
Our approach to trade is to be responsive. Since CETA is coming into force, so our trade agreement, we've seen a 65% growth between trade between Canada and the European Union. We have seen two-way foreign direct investment in the order of about $445 billion. And what we actually talked about was, what can we do better? What can we do more? Because trade agreements are one thing, and we have seen really great numbers, but what more can we be doing to help Canadian businesses enter into any of the 27 member states that's here in the European Union? What more can we do to do the same in Canada for European businesses? We are pleased that tariffs for now have been paused through the work between Prime Minister Trudeau and President Trump. And the work that Canada will continue to do to advocate against the tariffs will be what we are doing. Tariffs, as I say to my American friends, colleagues, trading partner, is that tariffs really make life more expensive for Americans at the grocery store, at the pumps, and that essentially they add up to a tax for Americans. We will continue to do that work. We did Indonesia in December. We are at the table with the countries in Southeast Asia, so the Association of Southeast Nations. I took a very large delegation of Canadian businesses to the Philippines in December, to Indonesia, to markets like Vietnam, Malaysia, Japan, Korea. So Canadian businesses are excited to get into these markets, and they have a government that is very seized at, helping their growth into these markets. And it's really important for Canada because we are a trading country. We have always been a trading country. 1 out of 6 jobs in Canada is related to trade. 2/3 of our economy is related to trade. And when you look at markets, when you look at Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy and our commitment to grow into markets that are among the fastest growing in the world, that's what Canada has been doing, and we'll keep doing that. We would consider all of the options that are available to Canada because Canada is a rules-based country, a country that believes in the rules-based trading system. I had a very productive meeting and conversation with Dr. Ngozi. Canada has very much been a part of the rules-based trading system with the WTO since its inception. We were part of its creation.